You've stuck your nose in our business for the last time, Starfleet. All ships, attack! Attack!
Warning. Ships under attack. Target's shields have failed.
This moon is private property. No solicitors, beggars, or Starfleet allowed.
Hello, my good friends. I'm so happy to meet you. Perhaps you are in the market for some high-quality magnesite? We have the finest ore in the quadrant. On behalf of the miners and residents here, I'm more than happy to welcome you to our home. Please transport to the surface. Unfortunately, the large amounts of extremely pure magnesite ore in the core of our little world will interfere with your sensors. For safety reasons, I must insist that you use the transporter signal enhancers that I have installed at my own expense. Also, I know you Starfleet types are so fond of your away teams, but could you please restrict the number of crew you bring down to the surface? My people here aren't used to strangers, and you wouldn't want to disrupt their work, would you? On behalf of everyone on this forsaken rock, let me be the first to welcome you to Hathara. As you can see, we don't have time for pleasantries. And I'm not sharing my Tranya stash with you. So, why don't we skip the chit-chat and get down to business? Unfortunately, I cannot call this mine my own. I'm just a middleman. Out of the goodness of my heart, I help the residents here pass on the products of their hard work to commercial entities such as yourself. The minuscule transaction fee and trade tariff I keep to offset my expenses is figured into the unit cost of the ore. My operation has become one of the best in the area because of the high demand for my services from both sides. I provide the best mining equipment and supplies in the sector to the miners, while my customers get competitive pricing on the ore they need. I don't pay much attention to that. Miners have empty carts and they return with ones filled with ore. If you're that interested, you could visit the mines themselves, but I don't recommend it. It's such a dirty, disagreeable business. And I'm convinced that breathing ore dust for too long is terrible for you. The miners who live near my quarters used to keep me up night after night with their dreadful coughing. I had to install soundproofing just to get some sleep. Are you sure you wouldn't rather look at the ore I have for sale? Really? Suit yourself. Just remember, I have an exclusive contract to export magnesite ore from this moon. If you try to cut me out of your deals, you'll regret it.
I'm sorry, I really can't talk at the moment. I have to finish a survey of the area so the miners can start work on a new mine shaft. I need someone who is familiar with the techniques involved in sonar analysis of soil compositions. How good is your pedology? I've marked some coordinates on your map. Please go there, scan the soil content, and report back to me. Thank you so much for your help. This information will be incredibly useful when we're ready to tap a new vein of ore. To answer your question, I'm not sure what makes this mine special. I haven't had much chance to explore the whole thing, though. My shuttle broke down in the system 6 weeks ago. Modron was happy to pick me up, but he's holding my shuttle until I've worked out the cost of the repairs. I can't wait to get off this rock. I have seen some strange people in the lower levels of the mine. I tried to do a survey down there once, but they wouldn't let me pass. Perhaps you should look there.
You want to go in the mine? Are you really interested in buying any magnesite? Or are you just here to cause trouble? Because if it's the latter, I know someplace you can start a little ruckus. There's a gang that controls the bottom levels of the mine. They won't even let me in there. Previously, I allowed them to keep their little kingdom in exchange for information. But lately, they've been more trouble than they're worth. And the intel they're feeding me is useless. Honestly, who doesn't know about the Breen invasion of Deferi space?
What do you want? This area is restricted. Only people my friends and I like may enter. And I don't like you! You don't belong here. And I'm done talking with you. Leave now!
here, Commander. You are out of line.
With all due respect, sir, there is a difference between protecting the Empire from her enemies and provoking
There
them.
is much here you cannot understand, Janek. The Remans need to know their place. As do you. I will not forget your insubordination, Commander. The Tal Shiar has no place for officers who cannot follow orders. I'll be in the command center.
Colonel, they were civilians! Their blood is on our hands!
Get used to it. There will be more. Speaking of which, why don't you clean out the brig before you become a resident there?
I almost feel sorry for you, but I have my own neck to worry about. I'll be joining you in there soon enough. If Hakiv has his way, we all will. Enough! I surrender. I value my life more than the Tal Shiar's secrets. I'll tell you anything you want to know. But first, you must tell me why you are here and what you want. The Remans know about this base? Impossible! Only the leadership of the Tal Shiar know we're here. The Empress herself couldn't find us. I don't believe you, but it makes no difference. This is not a military installation. We listen and record here. Nothing more. There are many targets that those Reman scum would find much more tempting. Are you sure you want to end things like this?
How did you find this place? What else do you know? No matter. You won't be revealing anything to your superiors. It's disappointing I cannot give you a proper interrogation. But I have much to do and little time. The self-destruct sequence has begun. This base will be your tomb.
mind? What have you done to my mind? Tal Shiar? I'm shocked. I had no idea. I certainly wouldn't have sent you down there if you... Say, you didn't happen to find anything valuable down there, did you? Because if you did, remember, I have an exclusive contract. And what's it to you? This is a rough area of the Quadrant, you know, and they're good neighbors. If you're not easily embarrassed. Their cameras and listening devices are everywhere. I haven't had a single problem with Orions or Herodians since they moved in. And it doesn't hurt that I acquired the odd bit of information here and there. I'm a businessman, and information is big business. Unfortunately, no. I'll admit, I was trying to find out, but their systems were locked down tight. I'm sure whatever it was had to be big news. Everyone was on edge. Janik and Hakiv were barely speaking, and I once heard Hakiv mumbling something about orders. Someone's been pulling his strings, but I don't know who. I do know that Tal Shiar takes security very seriously. If you manage to pull any files from their system, you can expect them to be heavily encoded. Trust me on that. I speak from experience. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go talk 100 Romulans into digging a new mine to replace the one you destroyed. My profit margin for this month is ruined.
The Tal Shiar records you recovered showed that Hakiv and his forces have been targeting the Remans for months. Obasek and his followers have been driven from their homes, had their ships destroyed, and their loved ones killed or imprisoned. Some might say that Obasek's campaign against the Tal Shiar is just. However, Obasek was planning on using Thalaron weapons in the Bahar system, which would have killed hundreds of innocent civilians, as well as the Tal Shiar cell there. This is the problem with revenge. Violence and fury only create more pain and suffering.
I have
Congratulations, Commander.
We know from the information you recovered from the Vahar system that the Tal Shiar are planning to attack a Reman settlement in the Dara system. We have an opportunity to reach the settlement first. This may be a completely internal matter, and if so, the Prime Directive will come into play. We will not be able to interfere, but if there is an outside influence directing these matters, we must know what it is. Our encounters with the Undine and the Changelings have proven that there are entities attempting to move the powers of the Quadrant like pieces in a cow-toe game. It is essential to protecting the Federation to see these attempts for what they are and counter them. I want you to go to the Dara system and learn more about the Reman uprising. The Remans will have hidden their base, so you may have to use subterfuge to find it. One more thing. I realize this is a dangerous situation and that you may be drawn into conflict, but do not antagonize the Remans or the Romulans if you can avoid doing so. We are already at war with the Klingon Empire. I would prefer to avoid another extended conflict.
I have new missions for you.
is under attack.